United. That was some night.
Well, it was a brilliant night for Manchester United to go down in history, Mick, as far as I'm concerned. That to go into the game, nobody fancied them.
2-0 down from Old Trafford.
I didn't fancy them. I don't think anybody fancied them to do it, but they did it. I think Paris Saint-Germain were very, very complacent, Mick, going into the match. I think they thought this is over. This is well over, and because Mbappe up front, for example. He had a nightmare. He was showing off, I think he was, so I'll show everybody how good I am tonight rather than go and win the match. He had a nightmare actually in the game, but Manchester United took advantage of it. There's no doubt. They got a break with the penalty at the end. I didn't think it was a penalty, but that's only my opinion. But to get it at that particular time definitely was a break. But they took advantage of it. I'll tell you, on the night there were a lot of players injured, a lot of players out.
But they're in the squad missing, yeah.
Their attitude was great. There was a great work ethic to them generally on the night. I mean, if Paris Saint-Germain had the same work ethic, I think they would have won it. But they didn't. That's all part of the job. Having the right work ethic is 90% of what it's all about. And Manchester United took advantage of it, and they did it well, very well.
They did, and as you say, no, I don't think anybody saw it coming. In fairness to them, the penalty at the end, obviously the crucial score, and as you look, luck is going to go with you when your attitude is right in a night like that. You didn't think it was a penalty?
I can't see how it could be a penalty, Mick, because like a couple of weeks ago Manchester City lost a penalty in Schalke. Do you remember?
Yes,
it was controversial.
Yeah.
And I remember reading the referee's assessment of it, where he said that he thought it was a penalty because the old rule was, or seems to be this year, it has to be hand to ball rather than ball to hand.
Yeah.
Now, I thought the Schalke one was a bad one because the fellow was trying to get his hand out of the way. This guy, the defender was coming out, he jumped, turned his back on it, so he obviously couldn't see the ball, with his arms outstretched, and it hit him on the arm. Now, what the referee was saying, he shouldn't be jumping out with his back to the ball. Well, who's he to say that? What was going through the defender's head, this is my best way of trying to block it, which was to run and get a jump, which you do, and turn your back. That's where you get your best done. So what's he supposed to do? Put his two hands, like Rio Ferdinand said afterwards, what are you supposed to do as a defender? Put your two hands down by your side. You can't do anything. So where do you put your hands?
Well, look at it another way. Not necessarily in that instance, but in a scenario like that, supposing the trajectory of the ball was heading straight for the net and it hit his arm there.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean where the ball is going. It doesn't matter.
No, I understand what you're saying, but
it's either a penalty or it's not a penalty. It doesn't matter where the ball is. Where was the ball going the other night?
I'd say it was going over.
Exactly. So that's your answer.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter.
But in the other instance, you're stopping a goal with your arm or with your hand, for instance.
Yeah, but you have to be doing it intentionally.
Yeah, and that's the interpretation then, I suppose.
What else could it be? If he's not doing it intentionally, then it's an accident.
Yeah.
That happens. It's like when the winger goes down the wing and the fullback comes out to him and he's got his hands down by his side and the fellow whacks it 100 miles an hour and it hits him on the hand. We've seen it's given.
You've seen that given, though.
I think it's bad play because how can he get his hand out of the way? And what they're saying is he could go with his hands behind his back. Well, you can't keep any balance if you got that. You're using your arms the way you use it. You know, what I would do at the moment, the way it's gone, because you're talking about the penalty the other night, and there's all penalties all over the place. I think I would make a rule: if there's a handball of any description, it's a penalty.
Yeah,
that cuts everything out. That doesn't mean, does he mean it? Does he not mean it? Some teams will suffer 1 week and they gain the next week, but at least we know what it is.
To a certain extent, that's nearly given at this stage, John. It's very rare you would see a handball that's completely accidental that it wouldn't be given.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Right, No, I wouldn't agree with that. I think there's
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but very often those type of ones are given.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So, like the old rule was, it had to be hand to ball.
To ball. Yeah.
Now, I think that's still the rule.
Yeah.
By the way, so that makes sense. But what the referee's saying the other night, he shouldn't have turned his back on the ball and with his hands up in the air. Well, he's 20 yards from the ball, and if you're trying to block a shot, right, then you throw everything up. You don't intend to hand the ball because you don't know where the ball's going. And as you said, the ball was probably going a mile over the bar. Anyway, I think it's not right.
The other thing,
I'm giving you everybody will have an opinion.
Absolutely not. That's what we want. But the other thing about that, John, as you said, the referee said, was it the referee said, or was it the people in the VAR who basically told the referee this is? Do you know what I mean?
Well, the referee would make the final decision on it.
He should absolutely should. But was it a question?
I think no. But VAR have to do that for the referee to have a really good look at it. Do you know what I mean? Because it happens so quickly. That's what VAR is all about. But it doesn't mean that the referee has to make the decision, what would be considered, in my opinion, the wrong decision. Actually, it helps him to see that the fella didn't intentionally handle the ball. He had his back to the ball. He couldn't see the ball.
But this is a bit pernickety maybe, but my understanding, VAR originally was, if the ref isn't sure whether or not something, for example, was a handball, he goes to VAR. But as I understand it, he was informed by VAR that there could be an issue here, which is extending the power of the people in VAR.
Well, I would extend it totally.
You would?
Yes.
Do you not have remote refereeing then, effectively? Do you not have remote refereeing? It's not the ref then, that's taking the power from the ref in that instance.
Totally. I take all the power from the referee, as you would in other games.
As it does happen. So, for example, VAR coming to a conclusion that the ref mightn't have even spotted an incident, and whether or not to make a decision that incident, that's entirely up to them.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because what's happening at the moment, you see, I think the referees don't like to give the power away, and they want to still be in charge of it. Now, what the guys upstairs say, we want to have a look at that. He might say, no, don't want to have a look at that. Or they have a look and he says, no, my decision was right.
Yeah.
The fellas who, the reason they have VAR is for the people to have 3 or 4 good looks at it to make sure that the referee is not making a mistake. Of course, there will be situations where you would disagree, even with VAR, right?
Yeah.
But they're few and far between. The major decisions will be right in what they're doing. That's what the technology is all about. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
But I think they're the ones that should make the decision, not the referee to say, well, I'll have a look at that again. The referee doesn't see what they see.
Absolutely, and there's definitely a case for that, but as I understand it, officially it hasn't got to that point. That as things stand at the moment, the official position is that the referee refers something to VAR rather than VAR
exactly
starting out.
I'd reverse that.
Right, yeah.
Because look, the reason that they have VAR is to get a better view than we have.
Yeah, of course.
And that includes the referee.
Yeah.
That's what VAR is about. In other words, we'll have a look at it. The referee shouldn't have to agree to that. They should dictate that's worth having a look at, and they should have a look at it at the technical thing, and then say to the referee, that's a penalty or it's not a penalty.
And in terms of the decision, like for example in the last World Cup, we used to see the refs running over to look at the screen themselves. In the Champions League, we see here the ref is standing there in the middle of the pitch, listening to what he's being told by VAR. So,
did he go over to see it though?
I don't think he did. On other occasions, I'm not sure. Did he go over and see it actually himself?
Well, then he's given the decision without seeing it.
Yeah, you see, that's the other thing.
Well, I think that's right. Because the referee are like us watching it. He's watching it live, he's watching the space.
Yeah.
We're trying to make a decision from the television screen. So is he. Yeah. And how many times have we said, oh, I didn't see that?
Yeah, but then you're down to interpretation. Then you're down to that the people in VAR are interpreting that...
Exactly. But if it wouldn't, you'd rather have them doing that, having looked at it 3 or 4 times, than the referee has only seen it once live.
Right, yeah.
It has to be an advantage to people who are watching on the screen 3 or 4 times in relation to the referee. How many times have you seen it and I've seen it, and they say, geez, I thought that was perfectly okay.
Yeah.
But when you see it on the eyes, oh God, it was over. Look at the thing over the line nowadays. That's part of it. No, it's not far. But you see something that's happened, an offside decision. There was a decision last night. Remember Harry Kane scored where there was no VAR.
Yeah.
Right now the linesman would be impossible to see that. He's 2 foot or 2 feet were out over the line or something.
Yeah.
Now if VAR had shown that, you would say straight away, oh, he was over the line. We couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. The linesman couldn't see it. The referee couldn't see it. So you have to go to VAR, and there will be some situations in VAR. But even after seeing it, you could be a bit doubtful, but at least you have the advantage of looking at it a few times.
The other big decision in VAR was Ajax won the goals. They went back to see whether the ball was out of play. Yeah, that was interesting too, particularly from the point of view of that it was so far back from the goal, and I think it was out of play, but.
Yeah, I don't think it was out of play, because the ball is a round ball, and there was some part would be over and some wasn't.
But even if it was out of play,
but what we must remember here, VAR is in its infancy.
Yeah.
Now, I think they will regulate it as we go along. And what they'll do with VAR, in that particular situation, there will be a rule that if it goes beyond a minute or 50 seconds or distance or whatever it might be, we have to ignore it.
Yes.
In other words, you don't bring it in for everything. I would agree with that. I don't think you can go back that far. So somebody commits a foul outside the opposing area, which is a bit doubtful anyway, and it goes up the pitch and they score from it. But that's to regulate it. I mean, there's no reason why to say, okay, that's a rule. So there's no point in talking about going back a minute or 2 minutes on that particular thing. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
See, in that situation, it's quite logical for us to agree that the referee thought it was in play, right?
Yeah.
As it proved to be the case. But it's a throw-in, Mick. You're not going to stop it for every...
That's the point. But even, for example, even if that was out of play, there's definitely an argument, and he may have said it was so far ahead of the goal that it wasn't justified.
That's what I'm saying. I would agree with that. It's very easy. This has to be tweaked.
It does, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
so in a situation like that, they'll have to bring a rule out. If it goes beyond a minute or whatever it is, then it's got to be ignored. Yeah. That's all tweaking. I mean, everything is like, I'm very much in favour of VAR, as you can see. There's a lot of people against VAR. It takes too long time. It's only starting. I mean, there were some people like Alan Shearer was against it before it was even tried.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like that. Oh, the VAR will do this and it'll do that. It's like the old back pass years ago. Do you remember the back pass?
Yeah, that's the keeper, yeah.
I remember that. Oh, the goalkeeper will be injured and this. There was loads of people against it till it started. And then it was proven to be correct. Actually saved the game, the back pass rule, because everybody was passing back the goalkeeper and running up the field. But in this situation, of course, there'll be times where you'll say, well, I don't agree with that. But 99% of the time, even going back to the World Cup, the VAR proved to be right.
Yeah.
There was more penalties in the World Cup than ever before. And I don't think anybody disagreed with any of them because it's happening so live with us and so quick. Like Harry Kane scoring last week. I didn't see where he was. It's impossible to see it. The linesman's impossible to see it. But that's what VAR is for. It shows it. But it'll be tweaked here and tweaked there to get it where we wanted to be. Give it a chance. I mean, I was watching the television last year when they were totally against it at the crew at the stadium. I think it was the Liverpool match when they played the 4-3.
Oh yeah.
But all of them, from the commentators back to the studio. It was terrible, the time was lost and that. And every one of them at the end said, but we'd have to say the decisions were right.
That's what matters.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
And they'll tweak it to stop the time situation. But give it a chance.
Yeah.
And I think it'll improve as time goes by. It'll be, look at the goal over the line thing, for example, with the technology. You have to use the technology. But the referees in my time has always traditionally been against anything that interferes with their authority.
Oh, sure, like anyone, hold on to the power, yeah. Grand, and that was that case. No, the other big outcome of the United game is, I think, you'd find it quite impossible to get odds at this stage against Solskjaer getting the job full time. Yeah. Correct decision?
Oh, I think, he's done more than's been asked of him in this situation, Mick. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the record and the spirit of the players and the various things. Now, to be quite honest, if I was making a decision in the interest of the club, I would probably go for Pochettino now, if they could get him. Right? Literally now, as in, hypothetically, say Pochettino was out there and they approached him, you'd be in favour of that now rather than giving it to... I do. Ole now, again, he's done a terrific job doing what's needed to be done. But you have to look at the circumstances, or try to look at the circumstances surrounding the appointment and what he's done. I know from being a player myself, when a manager like Mourinho's been in and fell out totally with nearly all of the players didn't like him, they wouldn't play for him, as they say, right? Now, when he goes, and I know for myself, the players' attitude then, we're going to really play now because we want to make sure everybody knows it was his fault, right? And then it depends on who's going to take over from that particular manager. Now, Solskjaer and Mourinho are chalk and cheese in their personal relationships with people. I think Solskjaer is very good, and he was exactly what was needed after the Mourinho spell. They needed somebody in to come and do that. Now the players are starting to play again. He's good pals with them, and they're playing and they're doing the stuff which is brilliant. Now, when it comes to the end of this season, next season starts, management is a very, very difficult job. And in my experience of the best managers that ever were, none of the players actually liked him. They respected him, and he respected them, right? So it depends what you take over in any given situation. And I'm going a long way around about that.
No.
If you go back years ago, Manchester City had a great team under Malcolm Allison, and Ron Saunders came in, didn't last 6 months. He was gone. Goes to Villa, wins the league, and the same team that he played went on to win the Champions League. In my own personal situation, we had a great team at Leeds. Brian Clough came in, right? Wrong man at the wrong time.
43 days, was it, or something like that?
44 days.
40. Go on.
It was a bit longer than you thought. And that happened. Now Clough then goes to Notts Forest and is ideal for what they need. Second division, brings them up, wins the league cup, wins the Champions League. Incredible. So it depends on the situation that you're in. Now the situation that Manchester United are in after Mourinho, I think Solskjaer was the ideal man. Obviously has proven to be the ideal man to do what needed to be done to heal all these situations with the players and that. Now next season is a different story again. Is he going to be still pally with say he signs 2 players in the summer, right, or 3 players, wherever it might be. Then he's got to leave 3 players out. That's when the real management comes in, where you have to make these big decisions, leave them out of the team, and even that. And it's that's what tears the relationship apart. In it, at the moment, he doesn't have to do that. You can't buy a player. The window's not there. The players have had a bad time. They want to prove everything is good, and he's the ideal man for that, in my opinion. His temperament's there. He's gotten the players to play again. They're giving everything they've got, and he's done a tremendous job. Now, but if you're asking me what I go for in the longer view, right, I think Pochettino has proved himself more as a manager in different circumstances to varied circumstances in 4 or 5 years or 6 years that he's been in the job in relation to Solskjaer's few months doing what was needed to be done.
And if, for example, Solskjaer was to continue in this vein, and if United were to continue and end, realistically possibly third, certainly with a Champions League place, would that change your opinion?
No.
Right.
No. It wouldn't. And I'm not.
I understand.
But it
makes perfect sense what you're saying, John. Yeah.
I think coming into it, I think Ferguson was had a lot of influence there to bring him in. They needed, as he says himself, the arm around the shoulder, like the nurse coming in, and doing that for this particular time. And also a huge incentive for the players is to show this guy Mourinho that he was the right so and so, and it was because of him, and probably was, that they weren't doing well. Now we've got another guy in. We've got to prove we can do it. And Solskjaer wasn't a Shankly or a Clough. Just put it this way. Say Clough was still around and it was my time. And Clough came in instead of Mourinho. I don't think that would have worked at all.
Yeah.
Because Clough would have said, right, you lot, I'll bloody show you what's it. Like he said to us, you lot, you can get your medals and throw them in the bin over there. That was Clough's attitude. So when he went to Notts Forest, when he's telling me you're rubbish, you lot, they were. That's the way
younger and hadn't won anything, so he can mould them.
Exactly. That was his managerial style. Mourinho had a managerial style that didn't fit Manchester United. Right? He did at Chelsea and he did it at other places, which he was a great coach. He didn't change his way at Manchester United. Right? It was just the way circumstances. That's the way they fell. So Solskjaer comes into a situation which I think is actually ideal for what Manchester United needed. Ferguson might have known that. I think Ferguson was influential, actually, in getting him back there.
Interestingly there, John, he showed up in the dressing room the other night. Now, whether or not that's a good or a bad thing is one thing, but you could never have envisaged him doing so were Mourinho still there.
I don't think he had any influence at all in the club with Mourinho there. And I think Woodward actually, my take on Woodward was absolutely desperate when Mourinho, and went to Ferguson, back to Ferguson, look, what do you think we should do? I think Ferguson came up with that idea of Solskjaer because he'd know him inside out and he'd know his temperament, and it was an idea for what was needed. And the point I'm making, a great manager like Clough came into us, wrong time in the wrong place. Right? I think Mourinho probably went into Manchester United, wrong time, wrong man, wrong place. Right? Solskjaer comes in with his temperament, his way of doing things, the right man in the right place at that particular time. Now, if you try to extend that, I think that's what Solskjaer does. But I think there's going to be bigger, different type of management from the start of next season. That's why I would go for Pochettino. Now, I might be taught. I'm only giving you my take.
Yeah. And what do you think? I was a bit surprised, but I mean, it certainly is a perspective. Graham Souness the other night, I think, or it was earlier, he was suggesting that the players, that he was giving out about the players on the basis they're professionals, and that they could be so bad under one manager and so good under another was a poor reflection on them.
Well, I don't agree with that, because the players are players, and if players are that bad, why are they doing so well for Solskjaer? They'd still be bad lads no matter who was the manager.
Why were they doing so bad for Mourinho?
You know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Like, why would they change? So I don't agree with that. And again, I think Graham might be influenced by his own situation. Now, and I don't mean to be quick, because Graham is one of the great players. He's the best on the television of the lads that I see on the television. But Graham might be influenced that when we went to Liverpool, right? He wasn't successful at Liverpool, and I think he had a hard core approach to it.
He's a hard player too, yeah.
He was a great player.
Yeah.
Great player, and management's different thing altogether.
Yeah.
But I think at Liverpool, from what I remember, he fell out with quite a lot of players. So he might have been taking the Mourinho approach, because everybody has different approaches to it, which didn't suit the situation at that particular time, right? And I think Graham would be influenced like that. But it's only natural.
Oh, of course,
the players didn't do it for me. But you have to ask yourself, why did the players not do it for me? You know? Why I go back to my own situation. Why did we not do it for Brian Clough? Because he was approached. All you've won those medals, get him and throw him in that bin over there before we even started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Down. Right, we're same players.
Yeah, but it's all psychology.
Different approach. Yeah. Well,
totally.
Psychology is in everything, and especially in football. But, but my take on it is that players generally need management, because you get one or two bad apples anywhere. But if in a certain situation, I'm not so sure Solskjaer would be able to handle the bad apples, if he got any, or if they become bad apples because they've been left out of the team or in certain situations. Nobody knows that. And I'm only giving you my opinion. I think what Pochettino has actually got a good background in what he's done so far in the game with Liz Southampton. And
he has the experience of doing it.
He has the experience. He's done that at that level, right? He didn't take over a Solskjaer situation. He didn't take that over. He's done it, built it up from there. Now, I might be totally wrong about Solskjaer. He might become a hard nut.
But John, it makes perfect sense what you're saying, but do you think, irrespective of what your opinion on it is, that he actually will get the job now on the basis, particularly?
If I was putting a bet on it now with Woodward, I'd say he'd get the job. Because Woodward would be a big decision and a hard decision, and actually I'd probably be going against the fans' wishes at this particular time. So I think he'd be thinking about his situation. Now, I'm not this has been not. I think he'd be thinking more about his own situation than what's the best for the club.
Because if he brought somebody else in and they didn't work out the way he had thought,
well, he's in very trouble.
Quick. Yeah.
You have to believe in what you believe. Go and stand in what you believe, right? I'd say the easiest thing for him to do was to keep Solskjaer there, because he's popular and he's done a good job. But if you're talking about, and I'm going to give you my opinion, if I was I was working in the interests of the club, I would go for Pochettino.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. I mean, it does. What you're saying makes perfect sense.